Hey, how you doing there again, folks? Me again, of course, Brandon Wenzel. Come back at you with not another offering off my sampler platter, although it does have to do with the sampler platter. It's kind of a State of the Union address for the sampler platter, state of things type of deal. Um, because of that, I'm not going to put you through the entire intro. You folks have heard it now for like over 3,000 videos. I'm sure you're all sick of it. But Peter Can Thunderbolt poster behind me, mushroom head shirt. Always love the mushroom head shirt. We're going to kind of get into it because this one's probably going to be a little bit longer of a video. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. I also don't know what I'm going to title it yet. So it may be already well indicated in the title of the video. I might leave it a little bit more vague, if I want to do that. But I'm going to try to be upfront about it, I think. So what's this video about if it's not a sampler platter video, if it's not, one of my concert confession videos, something like that? What am I going to be sputtering on about? Well, originally, I'd been planning to do this video. I was going to release this video on New Year's, but I ended up having stuff, holidays and everything, and I didn't end up really having the time to go over there and do it. And even now, honestly, I don't have the time to do it, but I got to get it in. Um, so what this video is about is I'm announcing that the sampler platter, as we know it, as I've been doing it for, a few years now, is going to be coming to an end. Sort of. Right? So, this is a video that I have almost done at least a half dozen times over the course of me doing the sampler platter. In fact, when I first started doing the sampler platter, after doing it for a few months, I actually completely dropped off of doing it. For about 6 months, I, wasn't doing any videos. I deleted most of the videos that I'd had done. I just kind of got burned out on it. I really didn't want, wasn't having any fun with it anymore. And it was only because of some of my adorable cousins who enjoyed my content, who went over there and, they had gone over there and done their own little video and everything, and it got sent to me, and it was adorable. And, it reawakened my enjoyment for doing it, and it gave me, really a reason to kind of keep doing these videos because, it was like, well, okay, maybe if I got a little bit burnt out, okay, maybe I need to work something out, find a, format that's going to work for me. But if what I do can go over there and be something positive for people, then, as long as I can figure out a way to balance it in my life, maybe I can make this work. And I did. That's what I figured out ways to go over there and make it work for me, where I didn't feel like I was, kind of forcing myself to do it. And I got into a good rhythm, to the extent where, for a while there, I was uploading 3, sometimes 4 videos a day, pretty consistently. And I got to a point where I felt, pretty good about what I was doing and how I was doing it. Even though, realistically, I'm just chubby guy going over there and doing reviews in front of my phone. But throughout the course of the years that I've been doing it, there's been wear and tear. There's been, those times when, just, started to lose interest a little bit. And so as a result, like I said, there's been a few times now where I've come pretty close to doing what this video essentially is, just going over there and kind of saying, you know what, I think I'm gonna call it. But in this particular instance, maybe about 6 months ago at the time I'm doing this, I was really close to doing this video. Really, really close. But I decided I would hold off, wait at least until the end of the year, and then I would get it in. And here we are, it's 2026 now, so I'm doing the video now. For those folks who follow me and who have followed me, thank you very much. I felt like I kind of owed this video to you. I've never been a huge channel. I never expected to become a huge channel. I exceeded my expectations greatly, if I'm being entirely honest. And, so it might just seem like this is completely self-indulgent, and there is some of that, like, let's be honest. But I also didn't want to just drop off, because I have had people who followed my stuff now for a while, and, I felt like, again, a little bit of an explanation was owed, since I have been doing this now again, over 3,000 videos and stuff like that. I felt like, this video was warranted. So the question, of course, has to be why, and it's a multi-pronged answer. Because it really does come down to a few things. Part of it is a little bit of burnout, but it's honestly the least part of it. One of the things, when I first started doing the Sampler Platter, I didn't, I just started doing it partially just for shits and giggles, partly because I'm the type of person who I like to try stuff anyway. So, and then people, I would post to like my Facebook page or what have you, my social media, and people would always ask me, oh, how was it, blah, 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 blah. Instead of writing out a big long review or whatever, I can just do it, 10-minute video. It's a little bit easier. And, that end of things has kind of dialed down, as it is anyway. But moreover, it's become the thing of, like, when I first started, I really didn't want to become, like, I didn't want to be like every other reviewer that I would see online, that was going over there reviewing stuff from their car, the latest fast food item, blah, 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 all that stuff. And as time went by, that's exactly what I became. Now, that said, I'm not hating on those folks, and, I'm willing to give myself a certain amount of leeway. But the reality was that as time went by, and it really did become this thing of, like, I was going over there, and, every month I'm, like, checking my phone, trying to see, who has what available, what are some things that I can review. And then, sometimes there wasn't really an abundance of stuff that really made sense for me to review, so then I'd have to kind of get creative with it, or, do sort of bullshit reviews for things that, I normally wouldn't have reviewed, but, just content. Because once I started going over there and doing the show consistently, I wanted to keep doing it consistently. And, I've been finding that my eagerness to jump on these things has really diminished. Like at the time I'm doing this, the Krabby Patty Whopper has been a thing for a little bit now. And I have just had no fucking interest in checking it out or doing anything with it. It just got to a point where it started to wear thin. But the other reasons, honestly, probably kind of take at least as much, if not more, precedence. One of the reasons, flat out, is just health. I'm not, dying. I mean, we're all dying slowly, but, I don't think I'm dying any more rapidly than anybody else that I'm aware of. To any, significant degree or anything. It's not like it's, But the fact of the matter is, I'm almost 40 years old. I've got high blood pressure. Take, medication for cholesterol. I've got these things that, realistically play into my long-term health. And as much fun as it's been going over there wolfing down fast food and, stuff like that, I do need to go over there and take better care of myself. Despite the fact that, pretty recently I went to the doctor and they're like, you're all right, you're all right. But no, I mean, the fact of the matter is, regardless, I couldn't keep up the pace that I've been going with this stuff and, wolfing down the stuff that I've been wolfing down. Eventually that just had to come to a close. And that's, I'm not going to go over there and suddenly just become king of salads or anything like that. I'm still going to go over there and enjoy myself where I can, but I need to be more responsible about it. And the fact of the matter is that if I have content that I have to create, or at least I feel that I have to create on a regular basis, that's impossible for me to do because I have to go over there and, So part of it is health oriented, thinking about, again, just my long term health and stuff like that. Another part is financial. You know, the sampler platter isn't like hugely expensive or anything, and the fact of the matter is, I've been able to tie it into, my overall just typical habits in a lot of cases. A lot of things that I review, I'm reviewing it, because I'm going out for lunch or dinner or what have you, or it's something I would already try or a product that I would already own. So it's not all that difficult, to kind of wind it in. But it does, over time take a toll financially. Um, just there's definitely been things where, I wouldn't have gone over there and bought it, but I did because, for review sake. Um, or, times when, there's been a number of times when I've gone over there and I've done reviews where, I've done multiple reviews in a day, because I felt that I'd fallen behind on my backlog or what have you. And, again, little by little, that stuff adds up. And when I became a YouTube partner and my channel was allowed to be monetized, I was like, okay, cool. If this can start offsetting that, then it's one less thing, right? But the fact of the matter is that, my channel, even as it grew, I did make a little bit of money off of YouTube through the ad revenue and stuff like that, but it was never very much. It was always, very, very paltry. Definitely not enough to offset, what I was ultimately paying out. And that kind of ties into sort of, the next reason why, which has been just the relative stagnation of the channel. Um, I've never chased views per se. I don't think, at least not to a significant extent. To some extent, sure. Um, I've enjoyed doing the content and stuff like that, and like I said, I've always considered myself incredibly fortunate for the fact that anybody has watched my content, let alone, to any greater extent. I never thought I'd get to, 100 subscribers, let alone 1,000, let alone 2,000. But somehow it happened. I managed to get to 2,000, and it was, really pretty cool moment for me. But then, I don't know, man, things just kind of dropped off. For a while, I was able to go over there. I could usually count on getting about, maybe about 100 subscribers, per month, somewhere around there. Which isn't, that's nothing holy shit amazing or anything. But it was a nice, consistent sort of, and I saw a gradual uptick. So I was like, okay, I'm doing something right. For whatever reason, though, in 2025, man, it really, really just kind of crapped out on me. And I don't know if that was the algorithm working against me or if people just finally caught on that my content wasn't that good. I don't know, but, and I talked with one of my friends and coworkers who also does some YouTube stuff. He may very well even watch this, so if he does, you know who you are. Uh, but he had gone over there and, recommended to me, hey, if it's not working for you, maybe try some new things, blah, 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 blah. And I did seriously consider that, for a long time now, my reviews are kind of long-winded, maybe I could cut back on that. But the fact of the matter was that even outside of just not really wanting to do that, I kind of enjoyed the format, the way I did it. The fact of the matter was that it seems like, just a relatively small sample size, but it did seem like, other people who also did food review stuff seemed to be kind of in similar situations. It seemed like there had been kind of a drop-off. 1 second. What are you doing, little girl? Sorry. This is also my hamster room. I have an adorable hamster daughter named Maya, and she was trying to get to her water bottle, and she managed to kind of push it too far out of the way. Anyway. Yeah, going back to what I was talking about. No, like I said, it really, got to a point where, like, it really was just, maybe I'd get a few subscribers a month if I was lucky. And like I said, with the financial end of things, all of my I don't have a Patreon or anything like that. All of my stuff is based off of, whatever ad revenue I make from YouTube. If I'm not making ad revenue, or people aren't watching, then I'm not making ad revenue. So as a result, like whatever little bit I was making pretty much completely evaporated, which made it that much harder. And I'm not going to lie, when you've got the momentum behind you, when you've got sort of the wind at your back, it's easier to go over there and, prompt yourself to do this stuff and, to push forward. But I do want to really emphasize that I'm not putting this on anybody. I'm not like, brr, why aren't you guys watching my content? Or, I'm fucking off because blah, blah. That's not the case. Because like I said, even when my subscriber count was going up at a relatively good pace, there were still times when I just kind of thought maybe I would kind of end things, and that really is kind of like the end, like sort of the real sort of thing of it is like it just kind of eventually had to come to an end. I mean, I could keep doing it. I could go over there and adjust my schedule, adjust my eating habits. I could find ways to make it work, but for the most part, and that's going to be key, for the most part, it's like I just kind of feel like it's done. However, that doesn't mean that I'm completely done or the channel is going to be abandoned or anything like that. For one thing, there's always going to be concert videos uploaded, so if you enjoy that, that's always going to be the case. I'm still planning to keep that going. And I'm still planning to do the concert confession stuff. In fact, I'm considering doing more music-based content. We'll see. But here's the thing. I'm not completely killing off the Sampler Platter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to become much more selective with the Sampler Platter. And what that means is that there's going to be a lot less Sampler Platter videos. Because if there's one thing that I really, really have enjoyed through doing the Sampler Platter, more so than probably anything else, I've really enjoyed going over there and helping to highlight local businesses, like local restaurants and local food and stuff. That has been the most rewarding thing for me. With the exception of like some of the really nice comments that I've got, which I fucking love you folks for, by the way. But being able to go over there and do the show and, have it have a positive, impact on some of these places, even if it's relatively minimal, that's been such an incredible thing for me. And like I said, it's definitely been my favorite part of doing these videos. So I am going to continue to do that. It is not going to be, I am definitely not going to be putting videos up daily as a result, because there ain't no way in hell that I'm going to go over there and, keep doing, there's no way I could go over there and, keep hitting up local businesses every single day, trying to make it a daily content thing. I don't know exactly what the schedule is going to look like, but the other thing is this. I will, on occasion, go over there and do uploads of maybe certain products or things that aren't immediately local, if they really catch my attention. If somebody has, something that comes out where I'm like, hey, that's really neat, or, it seems particularly tailored to me, then I'll go over there and, maybe I'll do an episode. Again, there won't be a schedule for it. It'll just be at my own, my own discretion, my own behest, whenever it makes the most sense for me. So that's kind of where things are going to be with the channel. I do still have a backlog of stuff, so it's not like it's going to immediately drop off. I'll probably post this video either today or tomorrow, depending on timeline. I've got some stuff I got to do later. But yeah, it's definitely not going to be a daily thing. But at least for a little while, the daily thing, it'll probably just be one video a day. And eventually it'll start to trickle off, because again, I will start to burn through my backlog. And I've still got stuff in my house, that I intend to review, that I've just had for a while now. So that's still going to happen. As for what happens with the channel after that point, like I said, The music stuff will always still be there. And like I said, I may go over there and kind of try to do some music related stuff. I've also thought about doing some stuff just related to some of my other interests, like comics, maybe video game stuff. I don't know. I genuinely don't have like a specific as far as what's going to end up happening with that. Just because when it comes to a lot of those things, then it becomes a thing of like, all right, do I want to learn editing? Do I want to, and this has always just been for fun. So, but yeah, so that's basically where I'm at. I wanted to, like I said, do this video to go over there and kind of just let anybody know, who cares? And I'm sure that there are people who would go over there and joke and say no one cares. But even if no one cares, again, just personal self-fulfillment, I guess. But no, seriously, to the folks who go on over there and watch my channel, watch the Sampler Platter for, the years that I've been doing it now, you folks kick ass. Thank you so much. Some people have supported me, from really early on. Some folks have come in, a little bit later. Some have fallen off. New ones come on. But regardless, to anybody, I can't say enough good things about all you folks in terms of doing what I do. It's the main reason why I kept doing it. If I was just shooting into the void, like I've seen like people who do like vlog videos and stuff like that, where like clearly they're just talking to talk, And I mean, maybe that's what my channel is too. I don't know, but I don't think so because again, I have had, I've had my community and it's been cool. And I apologize that I haven't been a better tender of my community. I certainly could have been more interactive and stuff like that. But seriously, thank you folks so much for all the support, kind words, the suggestions, all that good stuff. I will go over there and probably do like a sort of a send-off episode, like at least one more big special episode. We'll see how I do that whole thing, but I'll do something like that. But at least for now, like I said, it's going to be basically the same for a little bit, and then eventually it'll start to trickle off and stuff like that, and it'll just be, again, probably when I do local businesses or what have you. So anyway, again, this isn't the ending episode, so I'm not gonna go through a whole thing, but folks, thank you so much. Have yourself a great rest of your day, spectacular rest of your week, monumental rest of your month, spend this rest of your life, or spend this rest of your year. Have yourself a truly just incredible rest of your life. Whether I keep doing these videos or not, at the end of the day, I wish nothing but the best on you folks. Again, I can genuinely say, even though there's been some burnout and stuff like that, and again, like, doing this has genuinely been a fulfilling thing for me in a lot of ways. It's allowed me to go over there and present myself and to improve, in terms of being able to go over there and kind of interact with the camera and stuff like that. So it's been pretty cool to do this, and going back and watching some of my original episodes, oof, compared to where I am now, which, to be fair, still, oof, but maybe slightly less. Thank you, folks. Try not to be an asshole, all that good stuff, do the thing. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to post them on the video. I'll try to address anything further, but I think I pretty much got it down to, so. But anyway, that's going to be me signing out, not for the last time, but, at least, this is my retirement tour, okay? I'm doing now what LeBron James should have done 3 years ago, okay? I'm recognizing that I'm at the tail end, and I'm trying to slide out gracefully. Unlike LeBron James, who has done nothing but go over there and tarnish his legacy.